Hello and welcome to Just Around the Corner with Dennis Mansfield. It's an honor to have you with us. We're a podcast that deals with travel, adventure, education, and a whole lot of fun. We hope that while you're with us, you might get a chuckle or two. Today's show is about the idea of health. Now, as many of you know, I'm a business coach. I help people grow their businesses. But I also have coaches in my life. And today, I'm honored to be able to introduce you to Lynn Weimar, who is my health coach. And we're going to talk about the things that matter in not just my life, but in your life. The opportunity to gain greater health and impact the world. Again, I'm Dennis Mansfield, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for joining Just Around the Corner with Dennis Mansfield. As John Hay, one of the most famous men of the 19th century, once said, all the great prizes in life are just around the corner. Let's go there together.
Hi, what a joy to have you with us on the podcast today. And my guest is a very special person in both my wife Susan's life and my life. Lynn Weimar is a mom. She is a businesswoman. She is a registered nurse. Well, I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself. But she's also a dear friend of mine and my coach for health. Not too long ago, in our annual meeting that Susan and I do to plan out our life and what we're doing for the next year, we came to the realization that we needed a health coach for me. I'd gained too much weight. I had not been exercising the way I needed, and I needed someone to help me like I help people with business. And so today, you get to meet my health coach, my friend, Lynn Weimar. Lynn, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dennis. Great to be here.
Did I do okay on the introduction of your background?
That was awesome. Thank you. I love it.
Well, I probably should say also that you're an author. And it's been remarkable to be able to read your first book and to be impacted. It's called Be Free Beyond 50.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about this as we go along. So expand on your background a little bit for the folks that are, tuning into our podcast.
Yeah, well, excuse me. I was an English major in my former life and then went straight from graduating there to homeschool mom and eventually had 6 students in my little homeschool.
Let's be clear. 6 students. Who were your 6?
My 6 children. I was actually saying that.
That's remarkable. That's remarkable.
Yeah,
that must have been a lot of fun and a lot of tension at the same time.
Yeah,
being a former homeschool father.
Yes. Well, the homeschooling was beautiful and wonderful. I really enjoyed that, and we raised our kids in the mountains lived in the mountains for about 20 years.
Oh my.
And then things kind of had gradually been going downhill. We ended up separating, divorcing my husband of 30 years and myself, and I started a new life with my 2 youngest who were still at home.
The at-home kids, yeah.
And they came to live with me in a little apartment. So opposite of our mountain life, I was a stone's throw away from the freeway.
Oh my, what a contrast to where you were.
Yeah, and so it was, just such a sudden change from the life that I had known. And I started going to nursing school, got accepted to nursing school, and then...
Well, that's a quick sentence. Going to nursing school, at what age were you?
I was about 50 when I was accepted. I was 51 when I was accepted, and then I graduated when I was 53.
That's remarkable to me. It may very well be what some of the folks who listen and watch our podcast need to hear, that it's never too late to make a mid-course correction, is it?
Well, that is kind of my motto. It's never too late to reimagine your life and start down a new path. So that's really a lot of what happened to me behind the scenes of starting Be Fit Beyond 50 was just realizing what, and it doesn't, of course, I don't wish what happened to me on anybody,
Sure,
but
absolutely understand that.
It's never too late to start living your best life.
Well, we're going to break up this particular episode into 2 episodes. So today I want our viewers and our listeners to get to know you more, to get to understand how someone can do a transition at 51, begin their life again, and then become even more fit, because you were an athlete when you stopped. When your marriage was over, you were a runner, if I remember correctly.
I hadn't been running very much in the previous 5 years just because of all the stress of things that were going on. But in my early 40s, yes, I was a big-time runner.
How did you transition from your RN days back into athletics and then into health coaching?
Well, I just knew that I could look back on how I felt when I was in my early 40s and remember how it felt to be at that level of fitness. And that really was such a joy for me to be able to live at that level. And I wanted that back because I had gained the weight. As I was more sedentary, going to school, working full-time, taking care of my kids, everything like that, the pounds had gradually crept on.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. And I started wondering, because I started trying to diet, trying to lose the weight, and I had not had that experience really in my adult life.
In the past, you had not had that experience?
Not so much. But yeah, then menopause hits. I'm in my 50s. I'm 25, 30 pounds heavier than when I had been running.
Wow.
And didn't feel like I had the time to take care of myself.
So walk with me. You had then a moment in time where you said, I'm going to get back in shape.
Right.
Was it a huge plan, or was it, I'm going to go outside and run to the end of the block, and then the next day I'll run more, and then the next day I'll do more? Because ultimately, you became an Iron Man, Iron Woman.
I'm not officially an iron grandma yet.
But you will be.
But I will be.
So that involves running, bicycling, and swimming.
Yes.
So for the person who's listening to this episode, they're going, I can't do that. I'm 40 pounds overweight. I'm 48 years old. What? You're not asking them to do that, are you?
Oh, no. No.
One step at a time.
And this is the thing that I had to realize. I had to learn it in my 40s, and then I had to learn it again in my 50s, and I still have to keep reminding myself, I can't be somewhere that I'm not.
Yeah.
I have to be where I am. I have to accept who I am, where I am, all the circumstances that led me to this point in time right now. I just had to receive that.
Yeah.
Because beating ourselves up for where we're not doesn't do any good. And living in regret and shame and everything, that doesn't do any good. And I just had to accept, okay, I'm in a different place now than I was in my 40s, and I needed to start there.
What do you see in terms of general health trends across the nation of people who are saying, I'd like to make a change? Are you seeing that more and more people are choosing to become active again and also choosing to examine their food?
I think it's starting to happen. definitely there are a lot of people that have taken control of their life at a later age. And I think thanks to internet, social media, we have more access to those kinds of success stories, and those are a real inspiration to everybody.
I would argue that your life is a success story and an inspiration to a lot of people. The people that come and hear you speak, you're preparing for a TED Talk, you're preparing for other opportunities in your life. Just being able for Susan and for me to read your book. Now, it's not a thick book, but it is a deep book dealing with change. You originally, I think your target audience was women. And when I picked it up, I dove into it, so much so that...
That's awesome.
So much so that when you said that you didn't believe in diets, it blew my mind. Because everything that's out there about food is about some form of a diet. Walk us through that. Why do you not believe in diets?
Diets work on paper. They work. Diets work in theory.
Great way to put it.
Right? If you're just looking at the math of it,
Yeah.
I mean, so many calories, you've got your, whatever you're counting, carbs, macros, whatever it is, you can map it out on paper until real life hits, like a trip to Ireland or...
This is what Susan and I just got back
right.
from. Which there was no preparation for the amount of different food that came our way. And when people are saying, here, please have some, what do you say to that? No, thanks. I'm on a strict diet that allows me to be rude in Ireland. No, thank you very much. And guilt could set in, but it didn't. In fact, I was sharing with you before the time in studio, was that in the total time that I was away, I gained 1 pound.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind. But it was because, as my health coach, you've been helping me think through things that matter most, not things that can guilt us. But why are you having this to eat? Why are you drinking that? Why are you having 2 of those Guinnesses instead of just 1? Or 3 of those Guinnesses.
Okay, we'll stop there.
I know. But, your method of coaching women has been incredibly unique. Explain what that is to our listeners and viewers.
This is really all about deciding what you want for yourself and envisioning the life that you want for yourself. And that's what happened to me when I was in my mid-50s and wanting to make a change. What do I want my life to look like? Well, I want it to look a lot like it did in my 40s because I could remember the feeling of that. I could remember crossing the finish line and just feeling so exhilarated that I reached this amazing goal that I had set for myself. And a lot of us have not had that experience when we were younger, but we all have better imaginations, I think, than we give ourselves credit for. And so we can imagine the kind of life that we would really want. And the thing is, we wouldn't have that ability to dream of it if it weren't possible. If it weren't really a part of us. So I always tell the women that I coach and the man that I coach.
And I'm the first male to come aboard. And I'm,
awesome.
I'm honored for that. But go ahead. You always tell them what?
What have you always wished you could do? Even if you haven't done it. Or what lights you up? Or what was a time in your past where you were excited about something and it was something active, because I think a lot of women in particular, we just kind of think, oh, it's it's too late. I can't do that. You know, that's just so far beyond me. And they push it away. And I want to bring it in and help them to embrace a life that they really were meant to live and let them know that it really is possible. And so when that dream becomes so big in their mind's eye, okay, now who do you need to become to be that, to have that dream come true? And it's putting on a new identity, but it's the identity that was always there on the inside, but you never
early on.
Yeah,
somehow was covered up.
It was squished down or whatever.
Sure.
And so, okay, now we're going to allow that new or former identity to come to fruition in your life. And then it completely changes this choice that you have. Do I want this apple or do I want this brownie?
Yeah.
Well, if your why and who you are, your identity matches, is congruent with what you really want for yourself and the life you really want to live, then this choice just doesn't seem like such a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm going to do what brings me closer to my dream because my dream has become so real to me.
And I think it's the realness of the dream that both Susan, my wife, and I have seen change. I've always been a person with a drive. My goodness, I've run for United States Congress, I've run for Senate, I've owned businesses, I've done all these things. But when it came to the weight gain as years continued to add on, so did the pounds. And I felt like I was a passive victim to the fact that, can you believe it? I've gained 7 pounds. Hang on, could you pass the Cheetos over here? And I don't even know why. Well, the truth of the matter was, I was pretending not to know. And under your coaching and under the work that of your book and under the accountability that I have with myself, I can go, yeah, don't really need the Cheetos, don't need the this, don't need the that. That apple looks pretty good. And all of a sudden I'm finding, or I'm not eating. That's another part of it. Susan and I have come to the conclusion that a lot of times we eat because we're bored. So don't be bored. Move towards something else. Get active. We, as you know, we bike the Greenbelt and we love that. We have a little dog that we've had for 8 years, or the dog will be 8 years old, but we've had for 5 years this summer. And we walk that little rascal. Maybe that little rascal walks us. I don't know. And so one of the hardest things for us was to say, okay, why am I concentrating on my body when it's, as people of faith, we ought to be concentrating on our faith. And what I remember the man who led me to personal faith in Christ said was that, you know, it's not just a temple of the Holy Spirit in the sense of what our body is, but it's the ability to live long and impact a lot of people because you've done the right thing with your health and with what you've been consuming and how you've been exercising. So to walk with the folks that are part of the podcast about your own faith journey and how that's impacted you in helping other people.
Well, before I became a Christian at the ripe old age of 14, I actually had kind of come to a very hopeless place in life, and I didn't see the purpose in living. I was just very depressed. I
at 14.
was kind of at 13. Didn't really have anyone to talk to about that, but was just kind of almost suicidal, really, thinking about that sort of thing, which I know is really common at that age. Now I know that. I didn't know that at the time. But becoming a Christian, that really gave me a different perspective. It made me see that my life has meaning.
Yeah.
And that everybody's life has meaning. And so just seeing the worth of the individual, no matter who it is, and seeing that my life does matter, and that I'm here to make a difference in some way. And I didn't know what that difference, I had no idea. I had my ideas and they didn't work out very well, but I've always felt purposeful, I guess.
And now at this stage in your life, these decades later, you're seeing your faith continue to encourage you as you change people's lives who are themselves possibly hopeless, maybe even some suicidal, based on I can't change my health deficits. I'm always going to be heavy. I'm always going to be lethargic. And you're going to him and say, no, faith is the evidence of things not seen. Mm-hmm. So of course you can't see it right now. It's the substance of things hoped for. And so when you think about that and you look into that, give us an example, if you could, of one of the people that you've impacted, or maybe a composite of the people that you helped, regarding the changes in their physical health and their fitness. Who comes to mind? What kind of character or person comes to mind?
Well, one woman that I've coached, she was in such a state of grief over losing her mother.
Oh.
And she had lost her mother 3 years prior and could not get over it. And there was always this kind of guilt, grief mixed in with the grief of losing her best friend. And she stopped caring. She would reach for the Snickers bars when she knew that wasn't the answer.
Sure.
But she stopped going outside. She stopped interacting with other people besides pretty much her husband. He was really the only one who knew what she was going through. And she was just in a very sad, depressed state for a prolonged period of time, and she really did not see the way out. And she started watching videos that I had online, and she finally decided to schedule a call with me, and she told me later, she almost backed out. Yeah. She almost canceled the call because she was so scared and really didn't think that I could help her. Because she felt like she was such a lost cause.
Oh, my heavens.
That she was just beyond hope. That's really how she felt.
How is she doing now?
She is absolutely loving her life. And kind of like you, Dennis, things turned around for her very quickly.
Did they?
With some, very few deep realizations for her, and just having the guidance of knowing how to turn around her thinking, because everything starts on the inside.
It totally does.
You could be handing her or you or whoever diet plans all day long.
Yes.
Tell you what to eat and what not to eat, but until you have that internal shift in your thinking, nothing changes.
We're going to talk about that internal shift on the next episode. I know we're kind of coming in for a landing, but I'd like to ask you a couple final questions if I could, because you had to have an internal shift, but you had an external series of realities. You have 6 children. When you decided to go into the health and fitness coaching aspect, how did they respond to that?
I think they're used to me reaching for the stars, basically, and doing crazy things. I made some comment about being old when I was in my 40s, and one of them said, "No, Mom, you won't be old until you stop running marathons." And
Stop. Say that one more time. I don't think I've ever had, you won't be old. Say it one more time. Mom, you won't be old.
you won't be old until you stop running marathons.
That's an amazing comment. What a great encouragement from you. It was from your daughter?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
sweet.
And then I'd had that period of being very sedentary, but that didn't leave me. So now I'm, planning on June 25th running a marathon after a swim and a long bike too.
They call that an Ironman event. So Iron Woman, let me ask you, are you prepped for it? It's not too far away. Are you ready to do it?
Well, I'm doing a rehearsal race this coming weekend
Oh,
in
wonderful.
Victoria, BC, and then that will show me how ready I
you'll
am
be
for the
ready.
full distance.
Is there anything you'd like to share with the Just Around the Corner audience, the friends and family members, the new people who've come to the podcast, that would be of interest to them about encouraging them to become active, to re-examine their food intake, and to look at the future literally one step at a time?
Just that it doesn't matter where you are right now. You can turn it around. And we look at the size of the mountain in front of us and we think it's too tall to climb. We think we have too much weight to lose, we're too old, and it's anything like that. And if we can, and I know this sounds like a cliche, but if we can embrace the journey and love where we are right now, and at the same time be making that forward progress, then it doesn't matter how long it takes. We don't have to be in a big hurry to reach the top of the mountain if we love the process of getting there.
If people want to be in contact with you, what's your website? What's your email address? Maybe what's your phone number so that they can reach out to you?
My email is Lynn, Lynn, at befitbeyond50.com, and 50 is spelled out. We did not do the number thing, so spell it out.
So say that one more time. Lynn.
Lynn at befitbeyond50.com. And then my website is just befitbeyond50.com.
I tell you, it would be fantastic for any of you out there right now that if you have the opportunity to pick up this book. I write books, and I've written 10 of them. There are very few books that I look at and go, I gotta let people know about this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it has been that impactful on Susan and myself, friends that we've handed it to, people that I've bought copies for, people that you've given copies to in my presence, which I've appreciated that. Well, are you ready to stick around for part B, part 2, I guess, of our episode?
Of course. This is fun.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you for being a part of our show today. May it encourage you, as Lynn has encouraged me, to get up and get going. Think about the things that matter most in your life, and then look at the things that are impacting those, that are stopping those, that are halting your dreams for better physical strength, better opportunity to be healthy. And don't just sort of fall back on, I've got to get a new diet. It's not what we're talking about. And in the second part of this particular show, which will be the next podcast episode, we'll talk about some of the internal debates that happen and how you can win those debates with that old part of you that said, it's not possible. Because Lynn, I'm living proof. I came into this at 268 pounds, heaviest I've ever been, ladies and gentlemen. I'm now at 248. I gained a pound while I was over in Ireland and dropped a pound. But again, here we are moving forward because by the time I'm 68, my goal is to have dropped 68 pounds. That's a goal. And it'll be a goal that I meet. So come with us on the journey for the next episode. Again, this is Dennis Mansfield with Lynn Weimar, and we're honored to have you with us both now and in the next one.